Good evening. We're going to start Module 3, Lesson 31. I can interpret division word problems as either number of groups unknown or group size unknown. First problem is a word problem. Actually, this whole lesson today is focusing on word problems and looking for those key words and drawing tape diagrams to help us solve and model the problem. So our first one is about Dr. Casey has 1,868 milliliters of medicine tea. She pours equal amounts of the medicine into 4 containers. How many milliliters of medicine are in each container? So if we were going to kind of look for those clues, we would see that right here they gave us a total. And usually that's sometimes they give you a total, they're looking for that division. And we see another clue word like equal. And another one is each. So we know that we're going to be doing division. So what can you draw to help you solve this problem? Hopefully you saw that we are going to be drawing a tape diagram. So I drew a tape diagram with the whole labeled, 1,868 milliliters. And what I did is that I grouped them, made this whole, and I broke it up into 4 equal parts. Because she poured medicine into 4 containers. So what are we trying to find out? We need to find out how many milliliters are in each container. We are looking to find the size of that group. Well, we already know how many groups there are, but we just got to know the size of each of those groups. So that is why I'm going to put in this first box a T, and that T is known for medicine tea. That's over here, the medicine that she poured into each cup. So we need to solve for each one of these containers. How much was poured in this container, this container, this container, and this container. And all of this has to equal this number. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to divide. So we are going to put 1,868 inside the division house, and we're dividing by 4. Now 4 can't go into 1, so we're going to put an X. But 4 can go into 18, and it goes in 4 times. 4 times 4 is 16. Next step, we're going to subtract. We're going to bring down our 6, and now we have 26. Now we'd start all over again with division. How many times can 4 go into 26? It can go 6 times. 6 times 4 is 24. We need to subtract. We get 2. We bring down our last number, and it's to 28. 4 goes into 28, and 28 divided by 4 is 7. And 7 times 4 is 28, and we need to subtract, and we get a remainder of 0. So T equals 467 milliliters. So inside each one of these boxes would be 467 milliliters. Now, boys and girls, we should not be getting any of these division problems wrong this evening when you go on and do your practice ones, because remember, we always have to make sure we are checking our work with the inverse operation of multiplication. Okay, in our next problem, 232 people are driving to a conference. If each car holds 4 people, including the driver, how many cars will be needed? So let's start looking at the words and seeing how we can look for those clue words. So they actually put this in word form. I like to call this camouflaging our numbers. 232 people. Now, when I was little, I would be like, "Where's the number?" And I would get all upset, thinking that I don't see a number. Even though I'm reading the number, it's in word form. So that used to trick me a lot. So just be careful. I like to call that camouflaging the number into word form. 232 people are driving to a conference. If each, there's that one, holds 4 people, how many cars will be needed? All right, so I'm hoping that you're thinking that we're going to be drawing a tape diagram. And my tape diagram, let's put this here. And this whole diagram, this whole piece tape diagram is 232. We made, I'm going to put one little section here and I'm going to label it 4. We made 4 equal parts because each car has 4 people in it. We know the size of the group. This is the size of the group. There's 4 people in the group. Because in one car, they can only fit 4 people. But we don't know how many groups or how many cars that they'll need. So this is what that's going to represent. This is the part that we have no idea what to do or what to put in there. We don't have that number yet. So using this tape diagram, we got to figure out how many cars. So what we're going to have to do is we are going to have to divide. So with long division, 430, excuse me, not 400. It is 232 in the house, and 4 is outside. So now we have to go. Can 4 go into 2? No. So we put an X. Can 4 go into 23? Yes, it can. Not equally, but close. And it can go in 5 times. 5 times 4 is 20. We subtract next, and we're left with 3. And then after we subtract, we bring down. And now we are left with 32 ones. How many times can 4 go into 32? It can go into 8 times, because 8 times 4 is 32. And we're left with no remainders. So what we need here, we need 58 cars in order to hold 4 people each to get to the conference. Now make sure tonight that you are checking your work with multiplication. All right, our next one is 500 milliliters of juice was shared equally by 4 children. How many milliliters of juice did each child get? Well, let's look for those clue words. Over here, we are given a total. And I see the word equally. And we know that we're going to be dividing by 4. And we want to know how many milliliters of juice did each child get. So we're going to want to create a tape diagram to represent this problem. So here's my tape. And this whole thing is equal to 500. Now we need to represent, because that we're dividing by 4, we have 4 children. So we need to know how much of the juice we're going to be able to split up between the 4 children. So we are going to have 1, 2, and a 4. Okay? And inside each one of those is going to be representing the juice. We need to know how much juice here to this child, to this child, to this child, to this child, each one is going to get in order to reach 500 milliliters. So let's divide. 500 divided by 4. So 4 goes into 5 once. 1 times 4 is 4. And we subtract, we get 1. We bring down the 0. Now it becomes 10. 10 tenths. 4 goes into 10 2 times. 2 times 4 is 8. We subtract and we get 2. Bring down the 0. 4 goes into 20 5 times. 5 times 4 is 20. Subtract and we are left with a 0 remainder. So how much did each child get? They got 125 milliliters of juice. And our last word problem for tonight. 5 Martians equally share 1,940 Groblark's fruits. It's an interesting name. How many Groblark's fruits will 3 of the Martians receive? All right, so now let's do some decoding here. So I see 5. Oops. I see 5. Why is that happening? And 5 is telling me that there is a total, and they equally share this amount. All right, so there's our total. I'm sorry, the total is 1,940, but there's 5 that are sharing it. How many Groblark's fruits will 3 of the Martians receive? So this looks like a 2-step problem. All right, so let's set up our tape diagram. Oops, my diagrams always look a little wavy. And I'm going to split this up into 5 equal groups. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this whole tape diagram is representing the total of 1,940 Groblark's fruits. And what we do know is just that one of these sections we need to figure out. But the trick to this one is they want to know that how many just will 3 Martians receive. So they want to know this part. All right? But in order to figure out this part, we need to figure out what each one of those are in order to find the 3. So this is why we're going to have a 2-step problem. And in order to find what one of these boxes represents, we're going to have to divide. So we're going to divide by 5, because there's 5 Martians that shared them equally. And I split my tape diagram into 5 equal parts, because all of this represents this number. So let's do it. 5 goes into 1,940. All right, so 5 can't go into 1, but 5 can go into 19, and it can go into it 3 times. 3 times 5 is 15. The next step we need is to subtract these, and we're left with 4. Then we bring down the 4. 44 divided by 5 goes 8 times, and it becomes a 40. And the next step is subtracting. We're left with 4, and we have one last number to bring down. 5 goes into 40 8 times. 8 times 5 is 40 with a remainder of 0. So, how many does each one of these boxes worth? Well, they're worth 388. So 5 Martians got 388 Groblark's fruits. But the problem is, that's not what we want to know, what we want to find out. We want to know how many did 3 of the Martians receive. So if one received 388, how many did these 3 get in total? And that, my friends, is multiplication. So we take how much each box is worth, and we multiply it by the 3 Martians. And 8 times 3 is 24. The 4 carry the 2. 3 times 8 is 24. Plus the 2 is 26. Carry the 2. 3 times 3 is 9. Plus the 2 is 11. So we have 1,164 Groblark's fruits for the 3 Martians. All right, you try your best now and do the next couple of word problems. Good luck. Kelly separated 618 cookies into baggies. Each baggie contained 3 cookies. How many baggies of cookies did Kelly make? Remember, try to look for those clue words to figure out what operation you're going to do. And if we're doing division, remember, we always want to check with inverse operation called multiplication. Jeff biked the same distance each day for 5 days. If he traveled 350 miles altogether, how many miles did he travel each day? And Last one here. A piece of ribbon 876 inches long was cut by a machine into 4-inch long strips to be made into bows. How many strips were cut? All right, you guys rock and rule. Good job tonight. Word problems can be very tricky, but keep trying your best and you will be successful. Have a wonderful night.